Many times, young music students told me, I like classical music, but I wish to study jazz because in jazz I can improvise. This statement made me think about the present situation in classical music. It's true, today classical musicians, with few exceptions, are unable to improvise. But in the past, the situation was pretty different. The most important composers we know, from Bach to Mozart, from Beethoven to Liszt, just to mention few names, were excellent improvisers. Improvisation has been always a relevant part in classical music, at least up to Romantic era. Improvisation was part of the education of musicians, especially keyboard players. In the Baroque era, for example, it was very usual to improvise preludes before some written composition, as well as it was indispensable to be able to realize basso continuo, sort of accompaniment where left hand was notated down, but right hand was unwritten and improvised according to harmonies and figures. In the classical and romantic era, it was normal to improvise cadences in concertos or improvise upon melodies suggested from the audience during recitals. Since roughly 1 century, practice of improvisation slowly disappeared from teaching and learning and from practice. To better understand the importance of classical improvisation, allow me a comparison between language and music. When we study a language, usually we learn how to read, how to write, and how to speak. In music, reading is basically reading of the notes. Writing can be compared to composition, and speaking to improvisation. When we were little kids, we learned our first language by talking first. Then, when we were already able to formulate some simple sentence and manage different parts of the discourse, like subjects, verbs, objects, then we went to school and we learned how to read and how to write. When we approach music instead, the learning process focused mostly on the reading of the notes. And this happens since the very first class. Students are requested to learn how to read notes in order to depress correct keys on the instrument, possibly respecting time provided by metronome, without any real attention to the sound, the articulation, the phrasing, and in general to the meaning of the music. With this approach, students grow up with the wrong idea that to play music means simply to read notes on time, respecting passively symbols in the music score, often ignoring their meaning and without any emotional or creative participation. Students ignore essential rules of the music. They even don't know how to distribute tension in the musical sentence, as they never heard about it. They are often demotivated, as this approach sounds extremely boring and difficult, as there is no space for creativity and imagination. After a while, sadly they lose their enthusiasm, their wish to learn, and they usually quit. Through classical improvisation, students approach music in a very creative way, and they are always challenged by new discoveries at the instrument. Becoming music creators, they have chance to focus on the real meaning of the music, not on a mere reading of it. As you can understand, it is possible to read a language without understanding its meaning, but it is not possible to speak a language without understanding. Same with music. You can be able to read music without understanding it, but it is not possible to improvise music without knowing it. Therefore, among several benefits, improvisation forced students to focus primarily on meaning of the music, which should be the most essential part of their practice.